How did a small, rainy island in the North Atlantic come to rule over a quarter of the world's population and landmass? It's a story of ambition, innovation, and a whole lot of tea. This is the incredible story of the British Empire. Let's rewind the clock to the late 16th century. England at the time was a respectable but not a world-dominating power. Spain and Portugal were the big players, with their vast empires in the Americas. England, wanting a piece of the pie, started sending out explorers and privateers. Think of figures like Sir Francis Drake, part explorer, part pirate, all trouble for the Spanish. These early voyages were less about building an empire and more about grabbing treasure and establishing trade routes. The first serious steps came in the early 1600s with settlements like Jamestown in Virginia and the establishment of the East India Company. This wasn't a government-led invasion. It was a private company, a really powerful private company that eventually had its own army and effectively ruled large parts of India. They were after spices, textiles, and later tea. The demand for tea back in Britain was astronomical, and it fueled the company's expansion and by extension the empire's. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, 13 colonies were growing. They were a mix of people seeking religious freedom, economic opportunity, and a new life. But London's attempts to tax and control them, especially after the costly 7 Years' War, led to a little event you might have heard of: the American Revolution. Losing America was a huge blow, a wake-up call for the empire. So what did Britain do? It pivoted. This is what historians call the Second British Empire. The focus shifted eastward to Asia and Africa. Captain James Cook's voyages mapped out vast new territories like Australia and New Zealand, initially used as penal colonies. In India, the British government took direct control from the East India Company after the 1857 rebellion, establishing the British Raj. The 19th century was the peak. The Industrial Revolution at home gave Britain a massive technological and economic advantage. Its factories churned out goods, and its steam-powered navy, the Royal Navy, ruled the waves. This naval dominance was key. It protected trade routes, projected power, and allowed Britain to establish colonies and trading posts almost anywhere it wanted. It was said that the sun never set on the British Empire, and for a time it was true. From Canada to the Caribbean, from Africa to India, from Hong Kong to Australia, the Union Jack flew. But empires don't last forever. The 2 world wars drained Britain's resources and shattered its confidence. At the same time, nationalist movements were growing across the colonies. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi in India inspired millions to demand independence. The world was changing, and the idea of one country ruling another was becoming unacceptable. Beginning after World War II, the process of decolonization sped up. India and Pakistan gained independence in 1947, followed by a wave of other nations in Africa and the Caribbean throughout the 50s and 60s. The transfer of power wasn't always peaceful, and the borders drawn by the empire have left behind complex legacies and conflicts that still exist today. So, how did one island rule the world? It was a combination of naval supremacy, industrial might, economic ambition, and a dose of pure opportunism. The legacy of the British Empire is incredibly complex. It brought infrastructure, law, and the English language to many parts of the globe, but it also brought exploitation, conflict, and the suppression of cultures. It's a story that continues to shape our modern world in countless ways. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. See you next time.